My husband is called brother every day by the new young assistant. Because of this one word brother, my husband helped her fix the leaking rental apartment, carry the water bucket that couldn't fit into the water dispenser, and handle the headache-inducing data reports. Until their relationship deepened continuously, a pregnancy test report and a photo together appeared in his phone. In the photo, my husband had a smile on his lips, and his gaze toward the young assistant was affectionate and lingering. He chatted with his buddies, saying he didn't know whether he should divorce me or not. Lynn is great, but eating the same thing every day gets a bit tiresome. Ethan's phone has my fingerprint, but out of respect and trust for our 6-year relationship, I have never checked his phone. I know he is someone who is devoted in relationships, even with a mild social anxiety, and he wouldn't do something like cheating. But curiosity still drove me to press the unlock button. This opened a Pandora's box that caused my heart to ache. The girl's profile picture was her own photo. She looked like the type Ethan likes, delicate and cute, with bright and clear eyes. My heart trembled slightly as I scrolled up the chat history. I scrolled all the way to the message from half a year ago when the girl greeted him, "Hello, Mr. Ethan, I'm the new intern, and from now on, I'll be your assistant. Please guide me." At that time, Ethan treated her coldly like others, replying with just one word, But the girl's enthusiasm didn't diminish, and she shared more and more trivial matters from her life. "Mr. Ethan, we're working on game projects, you need to get closer to young people's lives. This is a photo from the comic convention I just went to. Mr. Ethan, this takeout is super bad, avoid it, avoid it. Mr. Ethan, this song is simply my god. I must recommend it to you during this period." She also mentioned me. "Your wife is really beautiful and gentle, Mr. Ethan, you really picked up a treasure." It was precisely her praise for me that became the key to opening Ethan's heart. He sincerely agreed with the girl's words and gradually chatted more and more with her. Slowly, Ethan shifted from initial polite replies to a changed attitude. On the business trip to Japan, Ethan took her along. Even though they stayed in rooms separated by just one wall, they didn't forget to say goodnight to each other. And from that day on, they hardly missed it every night. Every time a major project ended, Ethan would take her to a nearby restaurant to celebrate, just the two of them, without any other company colleagues. When he went to great lengths to buy a bag for me in Hong Kong, he didn't forget to conveniently get the toner she wanted from the mall. I didn't know which kind you wanted, so after finally finding the counter, I bought them all, picked the suitable one to use. Wow. Mr. Ethan is generous. Besides things for the two of us, he didn't bring anything for anyone else, including the silk scarf his mother wanted. He said, "Mom, please understand, my time is very tight, and it's too troublesome to find." Although he later had someone custom make an expensive one. But the meaning is different. He helped her fix the leaking rental apartment, carry the water bucket that couldn't fit into the water dispenser, and handle the headache-inducing data reports. And she helped heat meals, buy fruits to distribute to employees, and accompanied him to various social engagements. When they were in high spirits from drinking, she posted a message on Facebook that was inconvenient to say out loud. "Mr. Ethan, you really resemble my brother, can I call you brother from now on?" When I scrolled to the last page, my hands began to tremble uncontrollably, and the feeling of rapid breathing choked my chest, making it tremble. I put the phone back and stared at the ceiling until light appeared on the horizon. After Ethan woke up, he pinched my face with some heartache and wiped away the tears that still had residual warmth. "Stayed up late watching dramas again? Look at you crying, everything in the drama is fake, the male and female leads will definitely end up happily together, don't worry." I didn't speak, just stubbornly got out of bed. As usual, I tied his tie for him. Ethan's expression showed some heartache and helplessness. He placed a kiss on my forehead, gentle and lingering. "Go catch up on sleep quickly, don't stay up late in the future, I'll feel heartache." Looking at those familiar dark eyes, in a daze, I actually felt that everything I saw last night was just a dream. Ethan still loves me deeply. "For the sake of your birthday today, I won't scold you this time, I might be busy in the evening, but I'll try to come back early." I was stunned for a moment. His Facebook messages jumped into my mind again. Brother Ethan, remember to come help me assemble the desktop computer tomorrow. We agreed to play the co-op game together. Good night. What they agreed to play together was a recently popular couples online game. I grabbed Ethan's wrist with my backhand, my voice trembling. You haven't properly accompanied me for a long time, can't you today either? Ethan's turning footsteps paused. He walked back in front of me, fondly rubbing my head. Today is your birthday, I'll definitely come back early to accompany you, but there's still a lot of work at the company. Be good, wait for me to come back. As he said that, he gradually pulled my hand away. At that moment, my heart completely shattered into pieces. In the past, when accompanying Ethan in starting the business, I played the games developed by the company with him every day, staying up all night. Later, I would habitually have insomnia at night. He felt heartache for me and, despite my opposition, didn't renovate the couple's esports room we had dreamed of at home. Now, however, he is willing to assemble a computer for another girl and play couples games with her. The memories came to an abrupt end with the sound of the door closing. Ethan still went. I sat blankly at home until my stomach hurt from hunger. I opened my phone, ordered a lot of takeout we had eaten together before, stuffed it all into my mouth, and then uncomfortably vomited it out. I don't know when it started, but the deficits from the years accompanying Ethan in starting the business are now exacting their revenge one by one. For years of dating, 2 years of marriage, I spent more than half my time accompanying Ethan in entrepreneurship. Desperately charging forward with him, blocking alcohol for him during social engagements, drinking until my stomach bled. But after the company went public, the doctor said that due to long-term staying up late and drinking, my body is not suitable for pregnancy, it's best to gain weight first. With no choice, I could only step back to the second line and start being a housewife. Striving to nourish my body to have a child of our own. After all, my family consists only of Ethan now. My parents died in a car accident on the way to visit me. This was an accident. I had nowhere to vent my pain and could only pin my hopes on the only small family I have now. But now, the child refuses to come. Ethan is also leaving. I vomited all the food in my stomach completely, sitting alone on the sofa, letting the dull pain in my heart spread to my limbs and bones. I don't know how long it passed, the sky had become completely dark. My phone suddenly lit up. Thinking it was a message from Ethan, I quickly picked it up, only to find it was a text from an unknown number. The content was a pregnancy test report and a photo together. In the photo, Ethan had a smile on his lips. It was evident that he voluntarily took the photo with her and was very happy. The pain in my heart had exceeded my tolerance limit, large teardrops fell to the ground, followed closely by my phone. From the pregnancy test report, I learned her name. Chloe. Exactly as I guessed last night. Among the batch of interns who joined the company half a year ago, only she was like a little son. She would bustle around in front of me, attentively, and sincerely ask me for relationship secrets. I smiled and told her 5 words, sincerity in exchange for sincerity. But I never expected that the advice I gave would become a blade stabbing me half a year later. I don't know what psychology drove me. I picked up the phone and deleted those 2 messages with the backhand. Then I just sat quietly on the sofa, waiting for Ethan to come back. When it was almost 12 o'clock, I made many calls, but they were all busy tones. Time passed minute by minute, the pointer on the wall had already passed midnight. Just when I was sitting until my legs felt numb, there was finally a sound at the door, followed by the door opening. Baby, I'm sorry, on the way back, I accidentally dropped the cake, so I had them make a new one, which delayed a bit. Happy birthday. Ethan held up the birthday cake in his hand like presenting a treasure, then placed it in front of me. Immediately after, he took out an exquisite small gift box from his bosom. It was a diamond bracelet, same as last year, just with slight differences in style. I extended my hand for him to put it on me, then smiled. Smiling with teary eyes. At least he is still willing to lie to me, at least I still have a birthday gift, right? I pretended as if nothing happened, unpacked the cake with Ethan, lit 4 candles, representing our 4 years of marriage. But when I saw clearly that the fruit on the cake was mango, I was still stunned in place. Ethan seemed to have been observing my state all along and quickly noticed something wrong. "What's wrong, Lynn?" he kept asking, but my broken heart had completely fallen into the abyss. When graduating from senior high school, the teacher bought a large mango cake to celebrate everyone's college entrance exam ending. Everyone went crazy playing, smearing the remaining cake on each other. It was fun and also a blessing. But after Ethan imitated others and smeared it all over my face, I soon had an allergic reaction to mango, was directly sent to the hospital, lay there for a whole week, with my face swollen beyond recognition. At that time, Ethan felt heartache to the point of tears, holding my face and promising word by word. "I will remember all of Lynn's habits. From now on, your habits are my habits." He has always had strong execution, even for emotional scenes he is least good at. As long as it's about me, he can do it well. At that time, without money to buy a full-screen phone, he pasted all the notes on the desk. "Lynn doesn't eat coriander, doesn't eat ginger, likes sour and spicy food, and is allergic to mango." Later, when the company was established and he had money to buy a phone, these notes became his phone screensaver. But now his phone screensaver is the system's default simple version, without any trace of me. When did it start? It seems to have begun a few months ago, when he and Chloe started calling each other brother and sister. "Lynn?" Ethan's slightly urgent tone pulled me back from my memories. Even though I had brainwashed myself all day, now seeing his concerned expression, I still subconsciously shed tears, with my heart aching uncontrollably. "I'm fine." Ethan knows me well too. He didn't believe it and pulled me into his arms, coaxing me softly. "It's okay, you can tell me anything. If you're unhappy, I'll coax you, okay? If you don't say anything, how can I know why you're unhappy?" For a moment, I wanted to confront him, but in the end, I smiled and shook my head. "No, I just suddenly thought of the more than 10 years we've walked together, suddenly feeling emotional. Time passes so quickly." Ethan fondly scraped my nose tip. "Don't worry, I'll accompany you by your side in the future. We have many more decades." "Many more?" I began to subconsciously question in my heart. Indeed, once a relationship has a trust crisis, what's left is boundless suspicion and sorrow. I forced myself not to think about it. "Okay, many decades, light the candles." Just as I put down the lighter, the faint light outside the window suddenly disappeared completely. The candles became the only light source in the world for a moment. I picked up my phone to check the time. It was exactly 12:30. Ethan got up first and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window in the living room. "It's all dark outside, it must be a power outage." Only then did I remember. Yes, the owners group seemed to have notified that the community would have a power outage after midnight for circuit maintenance. Ethan came back, sat opposite me, his tone still gentle. "Isn't this coincidental? The whole community is celebrating your birthday, make a wish quickly." I obediently closed my eyes. In the second before my eyes plunged into darkness, I saw Ethan's phone on the table, lit up again. The feeling of heartache engulfed me once more. After closing my eyes and pausing for 2 seconds, I tentatively opened them. I saw Ethan lowering his head to unlock it, then frowning at the message on the phone. My intuition told me the message was from Chloe. My heart began to ache continuously. I closed my eyes again, but at this moment, my mind couldn't think of any wish. Then, wish that I won't die. Wish that I get pregnant soon. Wish that Ethan cuts ties with her. I don't know if they can come true. Anyway, my birthday was yesterday. A sudden ringtone interrupted my birthday wish. I suddenly opened my eyes. Ethan's face showed some panic. He wanted to hang up the call before I reacted. I pretended to be displeased and frowned. Why not answer? That ringtone wasn't the system's default but a custom one made by someone else. It was a clear and beautiful voice humming a tune praising love. Could it be that girl's voice? Just as I asked, before Ethan could even answer, the ringtone hung up and then rang again. Ethan frowned, got up to answer, but accidentally knocked over the birthday cake with candles inserted. The whole cake smashed onto my favorite skirt, staining a large area. Sorry, baby, don't move, I'll find something to clean up. Ethan subconsciously wanted to pick up the cake and left his phone on the table. I know him too well. His current actions aren't because he loves me too much but are cover-ups due to extreme guilt. After Ethan left, I opened his phone and saw the message Chloe had just sent him. Brother Ethan, there's a power outage, it seems like someone knocked on the door just now, I'm so scared, can you come and check for me? I had just put the phone back when Ethan came back with a rag. He glanced toward the phone, saw no changes, and visibly relaxed with a sigh of relief. Coldness spread in my heart, I couldn't help but sarcasm. What's wrong? Restless, need to go out for something? I originally thought Ethan would notice my insincerity, but he just pondered for a moment, then looked up with an apologetic face. Baby, the company suddenly has an urgent matter, I might have to go. My heart ached again. Subconsciously thinking of the earlier message. Don't go today, okay? There's a power outage, I'm a bit scared. I wasn't lying. When I was a child, going to the countryside with my parents to sketch, I was accidentally locked in the cellar for 2 days. From then on, I have been very afraid of extremely dark environments. If it's too dark at night, I even need to sleep with the light on. I don't know if Ethan realized, his turning footsteps paused. I thought this time I would win. But the next second, his helpless tone completely tore my heart apart and threw it into the abyss. Lynn, you go to sleep first, I'll lock the door, you won't have problems at home, moreover, our Lynn is the most capable. Last time in the middle of the night, you carried me home alone, didn't you? For the first time, Lynn experienced unprecedented despair from Ethan. He really changed. The teenage Ethan had his heart and eyes full of her, not like now, relying on the past to promise the present. What he said was that time just after starting the business, accompanying the client drinking until midnight, I walked the night road alone, half carrying half dragging him home. That night's alley was so dark. Dark enough to make my legs tremble. After surviving the ordeal and returning home, I took care of him all night. After Ethan woke up the next day, he hugged me and apologized repeatedly, promising that he wouldn't let me walk dark alleys alone in the future. But now the room is like a gaping black hole, 100 or 1,000 times darker than that day's alley. Ethan left, stepping on my broken heart. I curled up on the sofa all night until daylight broke, and the community power came back. At the same time, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, I found it was her, Chloe. She didn't know I already knew about her, still smiling brightly, introducing herself. Has the boss's wife forgotten me? I'm Chloe, I've been made permanent now, I'm Mr. Ethan's secretary, here to pick up files. I felt my face somewhat stiff, but still stepped aside to let her in. Just as she passed me, my gaze inexplicably shifted down and clearly saw the necklace hanging on her neck. It was the one I had previously found in Ethan's suit collar. I thought he had secretly bought it to give to me. Because at the time in the mall, I thought it was expensive and didn't allow Ethan to buy it. But later, I never received it. From initially sulking, I gradually forgot about it. Now recalling it, the knife inserted in my heart deepened a few inches. The most painful isn't the moment of knowing the truth, but after knowing the truth. I would subconsciously overlap my timeline with hers, matching detail after detail, then devouring my heart inch by inch. Chloe picked up the files and was about to leave, seeing my gaze on her. First stunned, then gently lowered her eyes to stroke her lower abdomen, already 3 months pregnant. I was stunned. Really? I haven't heard that you got married. Chloe looked up at me, answering irrelevantly, we are very happy. Although she was smiling, I clearly saw the trace of provocation in her eyes. I averted my gaze, nodded, and let her leave. If it were before, I would definitely grab her hair and rush to Ethan to clarify. But now, suddenly I lost the spirit. The experiences of these years and my age make me feel powerless. Even for a moment, I envied her. She is pregnant with Ethan's child. Just thinking, Chloe, who had just walked out the door, had an accident. The scream pulled my thoughts back to reality. Through the door crack, I saw her rolling down the stairs. Suddenly opening the door, I saw her lying at the bottom of the stairs, painfully covering her belly, her face instantly pale beyond words. Out of humanitarian spirit, I still called the emergency number and followed to the hospital. All the way, I stared fixedly at her slightly bulging abdomen, viciously cursing her to reap what she sowed, best if the child miscarries and she can never get pregnant again. In the chaos, Ethan also ran over. The expression on his face was unusually complex. He first pulled me to check around. "Lynn, are you okay?" I even felt it was funny and countered him. "What could happen to me? The one who rolled down the stairs is her." Upon hearing this, Ethan finally sighed in relief. "Good that you're fine. What about her? Is there life danger?" I shook my head. Before I could speak, the nurse beside came over. "Is the patient's family member Lynn here? Come handle the procedures." I quickly followed, signed after, and rapidly returned to the ward. Through the door crack, I saw Ethan standing indifferently at the foot of the bed, his voice cold. "Don't play those little tricks in front of me." After being exposed, Chloe simply stopped pretending, her tone full of grievance. "But I'm pregnant with your child." Ethan didn't lose composure as I imagined. Instead, his face became even colder. "So what? It was your design. I don't love you at all. Listen clearly, no one can threaten Lynn's position, even if you give birth to 100 children, it's impossible." Hearing Ethan's heartless words, Chloe's face became somewhat distorted. "What's so good about her that you love her so much? What about my child? He's your own flesh and blood. Are you just going to abandon us mother and child like this?" At this moment, Ethan seemed unusually clear-headed. "Child? Lynn is kind-hearted and couldn't possibly harm you. Moreover, now, whether the child can be preserved is uncertain." Words that were originally completely on my side, at this moment, didn't make me feel any warmth. There was only bone-chilling cold. Even if a cup is broken, there are cracks. The heart is broken through. How can it warm up so easily? Ethan also knows clearly that the reason I didn't continue graduate studies was because he said, "Lynn, it's too hard, come help me, okay?" I resolutely gave up the guaranteed admission spot. It turns out everyone will bear the retribution of being love-brained. It's not that it won't come, just not yet. "Come, patient's family, step aside, I need to go in to change the medicine." The nurse's call pulled my thoughts back to reality. And because of this, Ethan suddenly turned back, looking toward the door. In that instant when our gazes met through the door crack, what I saw was panic and fear from his soul. In this instant, I had an illusion, as if I still had a place in Ethan's heart. At least he would still panic. He rushed out in 2 or 3 steps. "Lynn, you finished paying? When did you come?" Hearing his panicked tone, I gently curved my lips. "Just arrived." 2 words made him instantly sigh in relief. But my heart didn't feel any relief. Instead, it was still painfully pressed by that big stone. I concealed the disappointment in my eyes and spoke faintly. "I'm a bit tired, I'll go home to rest first, you handle things here." Ethan paused, seeming not to notice anything wrong with me. Instead, his tone became more relaxed. "Okay, go back quickly, remember to message me when you get home." I left in a daze, my mind full of the overheard conversation. I don't understand. Why, even after trying so hard, I still can't escape the manipulation of human nature. Why can we only share hardships but not prosperity? Why, facing our many years of relationship, he cheats just like that? I have loved Ethan for so many years, willingly devoted myself to him. Now he has become my only family in this world, but he acts as if he has a handle on me, fearless. Back home, I shrank alone on the bed, carefully recalling the places where he was off during this period. Only now did I discover many details I had ignored before. Fake, all fake, it must be my misunderstanding. Clearly, he is still as gentle to me as before. I painfully tugged at my hair, but the pain on my scalp was not even 1/10,000th of the heart's. I cried until I lost my voice, but still couldn't relieve the accumulated pain in my heart. Recalling the fact that Ethan admitted cheating with his own mouth, my heart would be repeatedly crushed and pierced, painful to the point of unable to breathe. I don't know how long passed, my heart became numb, paranoidly attributing Ethan's cheating to myself. It must be because I stayed at home too long, so my attractiveness is insufficient, letting other women take advantage. Chloe's words lingered in my ears like a nightmare, trapping me in the trap of self-proof. If I continue to shine brightly, will Ethan remember our past and return to my side? I madly submitted resumes everywhere online. In university, my major was jewelry design, and I had many excellent works, winning international and domestic awards until my hands were soft. Later, to help Ethan start the business, I gradually gave up these and turned to understand his gaming industry. But in the end, these 10 years gave me only a scarred heart. When submitting to I don't know how many companies, I finally exhausted my strength, tears blurring my eyes again. Clearly, the one who cheated is him. Why do I have to desperately self-prove? Even if I no longer shine, it's not an excuse for him to consort with other women. The wrong one shouldn't be me. After slowly calming down, I revised the resume again and submitted to a few jewelry design companies I had always wanted to go to before. Doing these now is no longer to regain Ethan's attention, but for the Lynn whose career is unfinished. Just after submitting, not long, the door lock sounded. It was Ethan back. He tiptoed to my side, like presenting a treasure, took out a gift box from behind. "Lynn, you worked hard today, this is a gift I brought for you." I was stunned for a moment, still took the gift box from his hand. But in the instant of opening, my whole body stiffened. Inside was actually that necklace from before, the one Ethan gave to Chloe. I asked with a forced smile, "How did you think of buying this necklace?" Seeing me smile, Ethan sat beside me. "You always thought it was expensive and didn't buy it before. I know you like it, so I bought it back for you. How is it? Do you like it?" My fingers gripping the necklace tightened, a piercing current spread from my heart to my limbs and bones. It turns out, he knows everything. He knows I like it, knows I want it. But still chooses to ignore. He doesn't not understand, he just doesn't want to waste thoughts on me. I couldn't help but start thinking, compared to me, where is Chloe better? To make a man who has always been extremely loyal to me abandon his principles and bottom line. Thinking back and forth, the only thing I can think of is freshness. In the 10th year after marriage, the chat box between him and me almost has no messages, the ones there are just about what to eat or what fees to pay. And in the bland marriage, Chloe's appearance is like a splash of color in gray life. Ethan never knows what surprise she will bring next. That kind of freshness makes him gradually addicted, until later even hugs and kisses have no guilt. Seeming to see me not speaking for a long time, Ethan took the necklace from my hand, about to put it on me, but I dodged sideways. "Liked it before, don't like it now." Ethan's hand paused. "If you don't like it, forget it, another day you go by what you like yourself." I subconsciously countered, "Now you only have this much patience for me?" Ethan was stunned by my sudden anger. He finally noticed the change in my attitude, a flash of panic in his eyes. "Lynn, did you hear?" I somewhat self-mockingly curved my lip corner, not wanting to say it outright. "Do you have anything you don't want me to hear?" Ethan clenched his teeth, his gaze earnestly looking at me. "Sorry, Lynn, I'll resolve all matters well. In the future, we'll be good, I won't let you suffer grievances again. You rest well first, I'll go cut some fruit for you." Saying that, he got up and went behind the island counter, starting to busy himself. His words made my silent heart ignite a flame of hope again. Is he planning to break off with Chloe? Although there is joy, my heart still inevitably feels a wave of sourness. His cheating is like a thorn, I don't know if I can stop thinking about it. Actually, I also look down on my own spineless appearance. Having already discovered my husband's cheating, yet still finding steps for him time after time. I have already become unlike myself. But 10 years of relationship, I really am unwilling to just hand it over like this. Moreover, now I only have him. While I was immersed in memories, his phone suddenly rang inopportunely, appearing especially abrupt in the empty room. He glanced at the caller ID, hesitated a bit, and picked up. I instantly understood who was on the other end. I held my breath and concentrated, only hearing words like critically ill. Hanging up, Ethan turned to go out. Lynn, eat the fruit and rest first, I'm going to the hospital, there seems to be some danger there. I grabbed his sleeve without speaking. I didn't know what to say, but in my heart, I was subconsciously comparing my weight with Chloe's. Ethan indeed hesitated, a trace of guilt flashing in his eyes. He held my hand back. Lynn, be obedient, for the company's reputation, I must go now, trust me one last time. I lowered my eyes and let go, sat back on the sofa, subconsciously nodded. Okay, I trust you one last time, I'll wait for you to come back. The guilt in Ethan's eyes gradually dissipated, he ingratiatingly rubbed my head, good. His facial expression became mild as usual again, but I saw a trace of relief as if pardoned. After Ethan left, I went back to the room to sleep until noon the next day. Ethan didn't come back nor send me any messages. Just as I was preparing to make lunch myself, I suddenly received an interview invitation from a company. The company is in the neighboring city, but it's the dream company I always wanted to go to during university. Before, they also invited me to join after I won awards in competitions, but I gave up the opportunity for Ethan. This time, I packed my luggage without hesitation, planning to use this opportunity to go out and live for a while, incidentally leaving time for Ethan to handle these messes. Before leaving, I sent Ethan a message, saying I was going out to play with friends for a month. I originally thought he would at least ask a few more questions, like which friends I was going with. But he only replied one sentence. Okay, be safe. He clearly knows I don't have any friends, in my circle, only he remains. Later, I went to the neighboring city for a whole month, he didn't ask a single question. After I came back, looking at the green chat box, I still couldn't help but dial Ethan's phone. After connecting, the other end was unusually quiet. Hello? Ethan, I'm back. The matter is a bit tricky, might need 3 or 4 more days. Take care of yourself when you're home alone. I didn't follow his words. Okay, I'm already back, haven't eaten all day, otherwise, I'll come find you to eat. Ethan knows I have stomach issues. This is an old problem from when I accompanied him in social engagements. Now? Now might not be convenient? Do you feel uncomfortable, stomach ache? Ethan's voice still had a bit of concern, just mixed with perfunctoriness. A bit painful, but I just want to see you. The latter half wasn't finished when Ethan's suddenly somewhat irritable voice interrupted. Then Lynn, go check yourself, or have your friend take you to the hospital, I'm very busy here, can't leave temporarily. His slightly anxious tone made my heart instantly fall into the abyss. What matter is so important that he isn't willing to perfunctorily say a few more sentences? Even if just instructing me to take some medicine? The stomach that originally didn't hurt, in this instant, began to ache continuously. I was in so much pain that I sweated all over, but still stubbornly clenched my teeth. Although I had vague guesses in my heart, I still preferred to believe he was really busy with work. I adjusted my hoarse tone. Okay, you busy then, I'll go eat something myself. After hanging up, I hastily swallowed stomach medicine, but it still hurt badly. Before, I heard others say the stomach is the organ most able to perceive human emotions. I didn't believe it, now I do. I curled up on the sofa, but the stomach medicine didn't relieve the stomach pain at all. Instead, it intensified, even making my heart start to twitch in pain. From the reflection in the TV, I saw my pale face. Realizing that not eating all day was indeed unbearable, I dressed alone, prepared to go downstairs to eat something, and incidentally get some medicine from the community hospital. But just as I reached the hospital door, I suddenly glimpsed 2 familiar figures in the opposite community, instantly freezing in place. I rubbed my eyes hard, incredulously looking at the scene before me. It was Ethan and Chloe. At this time, Chloe, slightly showing pregnancy, was holding his arm, slowly walking out of the hospital gate, toward the neighboring community, after entering, strolling on the green belt inside. Ignoring the traffic lights, I rushed over in a daze. But was stopped by the security at the door. You're not an owner here, right? Looking for someone? I stared fixedly at those 2 figures, watching them affectionate like an ordinary couple, my heart pained to the extreme. Have they always lived here? The security followed my gaze to Ethan and Chloe. Them? A couple of old owners. Recently it seems the woman is pregnant, always coming out to stroll together. Just as the security finished, I heard a passing aunt inside greeting Ethan. "Oh, Ethan, accompanying your wife for a stroll again. So loving, this young couple." Ethan nodded without refuting, and Chloe beside him also smiled in default, full of happiness. Only I was like struck by lightning, legs weak, almost unable to stand. Obviously, accompanying Chloe for strolls wasn't the first time, even neighbors thought they were a couple. I suddenly remembered on my birthday, when Chloe pretended to be pitiful and messaged, saying afraid of the dark, and took Ethan away that night. How could it be so coincidental? After my community had a power outage, she also had one. I don't know where the strength came from. I turned and rushed home in one breath. Searched in Ethan's study for a long time, finally found 2 property deeds at the bottom of the drawer. One is our home, the other is exactly a large flat in the opposite community, Building 5, Unit 1, 102. Holding the property deeds, I fell sitting on the ground, tears dropping one by one, just like my broken heart. No wonder she had a power outage at the same time as me. But Ethan chose her. Huge emotions and resentment swept over, making me almost unable to bear it. In that instant, I was already blinded by anger, going straight to the door of 102 in the opposite community. I wanted to knock, to see if Chloe lived here. But just as I raised my hand, I paused. If Ethan was also there, then between us, there would be no room for salvage. I dazedly walked out of the unit door, circled around, and walked to the window of 102. Although I had prepared psychologically, when I really saw Ethan's figure, I was still stunned in place. "Okay, you go sit, the kitchen fumes are heavy, don't choke you." Ethan's gentle voice came through the open window into my eardrums, making my whole body shake. At this moment, he was wearing an apron, busying in the kitchen. While Chloe was swinging her feet, sitting at the island counter waiting with a face full of sweetness. Just like the former me. A churning feeling in my stomach made me subconsciously retch. When I looked up again, I met Ethan's stunned gaze. I don't know why, my first reaction was to avoid. I want to leave this place that makes me sick. Never see them again. The churning in my stomach became more obvious, I almost couldn't stand steady. But my pride doesn't allow me to show any timidity. "Lynn." Ethan chased behind me. I ran faster, using all my strength. He has long legs and arms. Ultimately, he caught up to me, tightly holding my hand, not letting me leave. Looking at this familiar face before me, my heart only felt sorrow. "Ethan, is this the tricky matter you need to handle?" I heard my own choking voice, biting my lip hard, not letting my tears fall. Already embarrassed enough. "This month you've been with her, right?" Clearly, a fact I've seen with my own eyes, yet I still want to confirm further. How ridiculous and laughable. Ethan looked at me with pain and struggle on his face. "Lynn, I just didn't want you to overthink, things aren't like that. It's come to this extent, can't you tell me one truthful sentence, Ethan?" I really couldn't control my emotions, roaring somewhat embarrassedly. "It seems only this way, my heart can feel a tiny bit better." I pressed my stomach hard. The man tightly pursed his lips, looking at me without a word. Time passed minute by minute. I saw something shattering before my eyes. "Forget it. Let's calm down for a while." These years, I never thought one day I would say such words to Ethan. Would propose separation. No. Ethan tightly grabbed my arm, speaking very fast. "Lynn, in my heart, I have only one wife, and that's you." "Is that so?" I smiled, but my eyes rained. I pried open his fingers bit by bit. The temperature that once made me attached and fascinated left me. I don't believe it anymore. The pain in my stomach reminded me that my physical condition was already very strained. I continuously quickened my pace. Behind was Chloe complaining of belly pain. Ethan didn't follow. "I have to leave quickly." But sometimes, the more people don't want something, the more it appears. My vision blacked out, and my whole body fell forward. When I opened my eyes again, I was already in the hospital. The pungent smell of disinfectant made me uncomfortably frown. The door was pushed open, surprisingly Chloe. "Lynn, I want you dead." Chloe suddenly rushed at me like crazy, her eyes viciously looking at me. "Ethan actually wants me to abort the child in my belly for you." "Why?" "As long as you're dead, Ethan will be mine forever." My scalp tingled, almost unable to think. "Chloe, calm down, do you really want to go to jail?" "Jail?" Chloe smiled weirdly, directly raising the fruit knife in her hand, waving it wildly in the air. I shouted loudly to attract people to stop this madwoman before me. Just as the knife was about to stab me, a strange man protected me in his arms. And his arm was fiercely slashed. The man's white shirt quickly seeped blood. He ignored it, turned to me and said, "Don't be afraid, hide well." I keenly saw Chloe's knife straightly aimed at the man's heart. In that instant, I felt my breathing stopped, my body reacted before my brain, fiercely pushing him away. "Careful." The instinct for survival made me continuously retreat. My foot slipped, I only felt a whirl of heaven and earth, my whole body uncontrollably sliding down continuously. I don't know how long passed, I felt all my bones weren't my own, only seeing strangers around me with mouths opening and closing, then lost all consciousness. When I woke again, before my eyes was still a white expanse, faint sounds came to my ears. The patient suffered a relatively big shock, the child couldn't be preserved. Child? I'm pregnant? What does couldn't be preserved mean? Lynn. Don't be afraid, I'm here. How are you? Ethan rushed into the ward, anxiously checking my condition, as if I were his most precious treasure. I smiled faintly, in the end still only said, "Let's divorce." Ethan looked at me incredulously, repeatedly apologizing and promising to be good to me for a lifetime. I stroked my belly, thinking of the child who died before being born, used all my strength to pick up the nearby cup and smash it over. "Get out." Ethan wanted to say more but was interrupted by a male voice. "She told you to get out, didn't you hear?" It was the man who helped me, and the next second hearing the title Ethan called out, I was stunned. "Uncle, why are you here? You have no right to manage my affairs, someone come drive him out." Seeming to see my confusion, the man took the initiative to introduce himself. "Adrian." I hesitated for a long time, in the end just nodded, and softly said thank you. "Ethan brought Chloe for an abortion. During Chloe's escape, she happened to hear you were also in this hospital." Adrian explained to me the reason for this sudden event, but I had no mind to care any more, my mind full of the child being gone. The phone ringtone kept ringing. Adrian called a nurse to take care of me, said there was company business and left first. All day I sat on the hospital bed without speaking. This ward had only me, without the disturbance of nurses and doctors. I felt so empty. If I use a knife to cut my major artery, won't these pains continue? How good if I can see my mom and dad. My gaze gradually locked on the fruit knife on the table. I felt another person living in my body dominating me to pick up that fruit knife. I looked at the blood seeping from my wrist, suddenly having an inexplicable pleasure. That was the excitement near liberation. So much so that when Adrian furiously knocked the fruit knife from my hand, I didn't come back to my senses. The man was still in daytime attire, Different was holding a lunch box, but his peach blossom eyes full of anger. "Lynn, do you not cherish your life like this?" I looked at his opening and closing mouth, feeling my thinking stopped, unable to understand his words. "I want liberation. Adrian, living is too painful." I was even too lazy to think how shocking these two sentences were to others, stubbornly wanting to pick up the fruit knife on the ground again. Adrian grabbed my wrist with frightening strength. "Lynn, is this all your ambition? Just because you were betrayed, do you have to seek death? Your career, your dreams, all don't want any more?" I didn't want to cry, but tears fell uncontrollably. "I don't want to be like this either, but I'm so painful. It will all pass." Adrian suddenly reached out and pulled me tightly into his arms. At this moment, I just wanted a shoulder to vent my emotions. I cried heartrendingly in his arms, venting all my despair and unwillingness. "What are you doing?" Ethan didn't know when he came. He stood at the ward door looking at me in shock, like slapped, his face extremely ugly. He quickly walked over and pulled me hard. I had no strength at all and almost fell. "Lynn, Chloe said you're pregnant, right?" Hearing the word pregnant, that familiar heartache swept over again. Looking at Ethan with unprecedented hatred, "What does it have to do with you?" "How does it have nothing to do with me, Lynn? You're my wife, yet behind my back had a child with my little uncle. What am I in your heart?" Ethan grabbed my shoulders and shook desperately. I looked at him incredulously. I originally thought my heart had already shattered into pieces, but I didn't expect Ethan always has ways to make me more desperate. With strong hatred and unwillingness, I fiercely pushed him away. "Yes, I am pregnant with someone else's child." "Then what purity are you pretending? You say you love me on your mouth, but ambiguous with my little uncle. I see you miscarried and aren't that sad, can still hug and embrace with him." Just as Ethan's words fell, Adrian strode over, directly raised his hand and gave him a slap. The man's peach blossom eyes full of sarcasm, his voice like the cold wind of December. "Ethan, you don't deserve to be a man." Adrian's this slap left no face at all. Ethan's half face quickly swelled high. He incredulously covered his face. "Uncle, you actually hit me because of a woman." "I hit you because you're ungrateful and heartless." Adrian was too lazy to continue talking to Ethan. He pointed to the door without giving face. "Get out." From childhood to adulthood, Ethan has always been proud. First time slapped, he covered his face with eyes full of unwillingness. "Lynn, don't you just want to divorce and become my little aunt?" "I tell you, impossible. I will never divorce." He threw this sentence and even slammed the ward door hard to vent his anger at me. I slowly sat on the bed without a word. A marriage with cracks is like this, like a volcano accumulating underground. When it reaches an eruption point, it directly erupts, burning everyone beyond recognition. After a long time, I came back to my senses and looked at Adrian somewhat apologetically. "Sorry, I just tarnished your innocence." To spite Ethan, I actually used Adrian's reputation. "Lynn, these are small matters." Adrian didn't care at all, calling my name as usual. The man's voice was full of security, making people feel at ease. "Your wrist is still bleeding, I'll call the doctor." I didn't speak, dazedly sitting in front of the hospital bed. From Ethan's appearance just now, peaceful divorce is impossible. I reached for my phone, silently opened one video after another in the album. Before this, I never thought of letting these dirty things see the light of day again. Before, I was too kind, always thinking for others, always thinking of compromising. But once people learn to wrong themselves, they will continuously be wronged. My works, and my life, I won't retreat anymore. I want Chloe to accompany my child in death. I tightly pinched my phone, my mind not calm. Adrian quickly called the doctor. I let the doctor bandage me, like a puppet. Instead, Adrian stood aside, tightly furrowing his brows. "Doctor, please be lighter." Looking at his expression, I felt it was strange. Clearly, the injured is me. How does it seem like bandaging him? After the doctor finished bandaging, Adrian stood in front of me, not knowing what he thought of, those peach blossom eyes deep and inscrutable. "Lynn, don't commit suicide again. I'll help you." "Okay."